Welcome to the Managing Drought in the Southern Plains webinar briefing series. I'm Margaret Boone, Program Manager of the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program with your briefing for Friday, February 13th, 2015. This information is brought to you by the Southern Climate Impacts Planning Program in association with NOAA, NIDIS, and the National Drought Mitigation Center. First of all, I wanted to quickly mention that SCIP, in conjunction with COCORAS and the Earth Observation and Modeling Facility, is hosting a field photo weekends this weekend, February 14th through the 16th. The idea is to try to capture a national picture of the landscape, so taking pictures of your surroundings to capture whether there's ongoing drought or precipitation, or just for us to be able to piece together this national picture of landscape. This is the third year we've done this, so we are kind of excited to look at the trends over the past few years. If you'd like to participate, you can email pictures to fieldphotos@southernclimate.org, and there's also more information on the homepage of the SCIP website, which is southernclimate.org. So our last drought briefing was actually in October of last year, so this will be the first one for 2015. Drought conditions do not change as rapidly over the winter. However, we are quickly approaching springtime, which means things can change more rapidly as we get warmer temperatures. So looking back, at least over the past week, the Southern Plains experienced well above normal temperatures and generally dry conditions. There were record temperatures were even felt northward through the high plains and across the west coast. Heavy rains also fell across portions of the west coast, helping to alleviate drought conditions, especially across Oregon and Washington. So this is the newest drought monitor, which was released yesterday, Thursday, February 12th. Extreme and exceptional drought persists across the western United States and portions of the Southern Plains, especially north central Texas and western and southwestern Oklahoma. Drought conditions are continuing to persist in not only the Southern Plains and the western United States, but it's also expanded across portions of eastern Arkansas and into Tennessee, where severe drought continues, or conditions exist. As we look closer at the drought monitor, there has been some minor expansion of drought conditions across Kansas, where record temperatures prevailed last week from Kansas upward through South Dakota. Across the Southern Plains, north central Texas and southwest Oklahoma continue in extreme and exceptional drought. Across the west, extreme and exceptional drought conditions persist across California, despite the heavy rains that fell last week across much of the west coast. But those heavy rains did lead to some categorical drought improvement in Oregon and Washington. So looking at the percent of normal on the rainfall departures, over the last 14 days, you can see the heavy rainfall that fell across portions of the west coast, as well as some precipitation across the high plains. The last 60 days show the dry conditions persisting across California and Nevada especially, as well as parts of the Southern Plains, and then into the Tennessee Valley, where we are starting to see the drought conditions, the severe drought that I mentioned. Dry conditions and below normal rainfall is apparent over the last 6 months, and then the water year to date, which is about the last 4 months since October 1st, especially shows the below normal precipitation is across that Four Corners region in the west. The 5-day outlook, which is valid Friday, today, through next Wednesday, shows dry conditions across the western United States, with precipitation chances increasing as you move to the east, especially across the Gulf Coast and into the northeast, and that's accompanying another developing winter system that will move across the eastern seaboard. Above normal conditions will continue across the west, with much below normal temperatures actually expected across the eastern half of the United States, with that winter storm system that will be moving through. The 6 to 10 day outlook, which is valid Wednesday, February 18th through Sunday, February 22nd, indicate the warm and dry pattern is expected to continue across the west. There is a high probability of below normal temperatures across the eastern half of the United States, and above normal precipitation is expected across the eastern seaboard, an areas of the far northern plains, and a small area of western Texas. Drier than normal conditions will continue across the west and are expected also across the Great Lakes region. The Climate Prediction Center 3-month outlooks were issued January 15th, so we should have a new 3-month outlook issued next week. This 3-month outlook reflects February, March, and April. Above normal temperatures are expected to continue across the west coast and Alaska, with below normal temperatures possible across the southern plains. Equal chances of above or below normal temperatures are expected elsewhere. Above normal precipitation is expected across the southwest, with a small area of below normal precipitation possible in the Pacific Northwest. Equal chances of above or below normal precipitation is expected elsewhere. Now, though there had been discussion last fall of a transition into a weak El Nino about this time, sea surface temperatures across the equatorial Pacific have trended back towards an INSO-neutral state. So not quite a weak El Nino, but more of an INSO-neutral as we move into the spring. I wanted to give a quick update of reservoir conditions across the southern plains, specifically Oklahoma and north central Texas. Though we've been through the winter months here and evapotranspiration does not affect the reservoirs in the winter to the degree that it does during the summer, reservoir levels in the region have continued to slowly decline. In Oklahoma, Canton Lake is hovering around 20% of capacity. Waurika Lake, which is in southwest Oklahoma, and it services actually several large communities, has dropped to 29% of capacity and has triggered severe watering restrictions across those communities that rely on Waurika Lake. And Skiatook Lake, which is actually in northeastern Oklahoma, has dropped to 52% capacity. In north central Texas, the reservoirs, which provide water to Wichita Falls, are still very low. Lake Arrowhead is at 19% capacity, and Lake Kickapoo is around 28% capacity. Their combined capacity still leaves Wichita Falls in what is considered their stage 5 drought restrictions, which is indicative of drought catastrophe for them. The monthly drought outlook was issued January 31st, and it's valid for the month of February. Drought persistence, of course, is expected across the majority of the drought-stricken areas, with a small area of expansion along the eastern edge of the current drought conditions is expected in the southern plains. As always, please join us for these briefings and any full topic webinars. For more information, please visit our SCIP website, which is southernclimate.org, to register for more information if you haven't already. These briefings will be posted to the SCIP YouTube channel as well as our website, and you can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at skip_RESA for more information. We thank you for joining us and have a great weekend.